A dose of dopamine. I'm Susan. That's Robert.
Hey, you. I
Hey,
saw something kind of cool. Sometimes this is the fun life of a filmmaker. Is we talk about discovery, stumbling across things. And as I was looking at old cards, I'm getting ready to prepare for the shoot this weekend. There's some video cards, and there was some footage that I hadn't thought about in a while. I knew I had, but I wasn't sure exactly where it was. It was welcoming you to third base when I picked you up in the city with my dad in the car.
I wondered about that. You gave me a microphone in the back seat.
Yeah, so I found that. Now I have to find the audio file for it. The good news
Oh,
is I've got the video. You can hear the audio, but it's not like as good as it will be. I'm sure I've got it, but it was just cool to see you. And I was trying to think, when was that about? Was it 2020?
well, let, let me
We don't
ponder
have,
that.
I'm not trying
Let
to
me, let
stump
me let
you.
me ponder that. I could
Yeah,
probably come up with it, but I remember that, and I've wondered if you would end up using it in the next movie.
it's very
Because,
possible.
well, there was a focus of our conversation quite organically about your dad driving or giving up driving.
Yeah.
And he hadn't. I mean, it hadn't come to that. That
Nope.
I don't even
Nope.
know if they had moved yet.
Not yet. See, that whole trip was
That,
part of it. Dad and I were talking about what it felt like to, we were preparing to move. We talked in the car. I took him through a driving test. And then, you're talking to him about that. So I'm pretty sure that'll be a piece of the film for sure.
I
Uh,
can't remember what I said, but I do remember being a little surprised. It was almost the inverse of what I would have guessed I would have said. So
yeah.
I'm excited when you get the audio files.
Yeah. Well, I'll send it to you. You can watch on your, and then the other thing will be, because that'll sandwich with the thing I was looking at here was our trip to the Aviators game. And another time, these are great stories. I mentioned this all as backstory to our viewing audience today. This is Boys of Summer Third Base. And what I can say is we're getting closer. If you want to see the first two films, go to bosmovie.com. They're up on Metaflix. The third film, we're still doing screenings of Shortstop. We can arrange for that if you're interested. But the fourth film, we're getting closer. And we're getting to a place where we'll be able to cut that, and that's exciting.
Have the
Um,
Field of Dreams
the
in
Field of Dreams
the.
starts that movie off, right? I mean, that's there. So I mean, you're all over it.
I'm dancing with your mom on the
Yeah.
grass, up on the porch.
So you've been a viewer of the first three films, and you came into my life after the third film was
Yeah,
being cut, and then
yeah.
you saw it and you were very moved by it, and we've been friends, of course, since. What do you think about being part of this legacy? Because that's a word I'm really playing with a lot right now, is legacy, and generativity is the word they use scientifically. It
Wow.
talks about what people
Huh.
what they think about in terms of leaving behind and paying forward. So I wonder what you think about being part of the Boys of Summer legacy.
It feels like very much that it's all the same thing. It's Yaks, it's day one. It's about helping those of us who are managing Parkinson's or any of a number of other medical or personal or social situations where our quality of life is affected, giving us a way out, giving us tools, giving us fun, um, giving us opportunities, in my case and in many others, for actually self-confidence growing, becoming a bigger, better person. And I have told people, Robert, we've only been knowing each other for 2.5 years tops, but I have said to people, this work that I'm doing with you is the most meaningful work of my life.
Oh,
Other than, being a mom and wife and stuff, but,
yeah.
in terms of the what I spend my day doing, and it's about legacy. It's about the future and what I will leave behind. So I'm honored. I mean, that's probably why I remember that scene in the back of the car, thinking, I remember that was kind of cool, whatever I said.
Yeah. Well, it was important because, what you've done is and continue to do is you bridge the Parkinson story at a new level for me. You're giving the female perspective. You're giving an outside direct family perspective, and you're giving a constant comparison. You've been with us in various levels, so you're adding a lot to the story. Yes,
Oh,
Andy,
I'm going all the way. Gonna go have some surgery on my head.
that another, yeah, we don't have that story, right? Which, like you said, maybe a story into itself, and maybe I can tease it or whatever, but you're enriching, and you're paying forward the Parkinson's story for everyone, right? The same way that you're getting a gift from like Helen and others, right, who are feeding you, you are in kind feeding them. We've set up these programs and these communities where people are getting something they just didn't have before. They're talking in ways they hadn't considered before. I think of our curriculum class today and how beautiful that was. And you weren't there for the first half, I know, but they were very
Oh no, the first 2-3 minutes.
it was, well, I
Just
don't, we were talking about shame, and shame resilience theory, and it was Brene Brown's work, and I really brought forward the idea of what it means, to ask for help, and what is the shame experience of Parkinson's. And it was something that got to people, and people said, I have to be careful, I can't ask too much, I don't want to be a burden. All these words, right, came really forward. And you saw what happened at the end when we played our way through with Superhero, a very fun game, and said, hey, look, if superheroes are flawed and superheroes need help, who are we not to ask for help? And the room just melted,
yeah,
right?
yeah, because we had all just done it in a fantasy way.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. No, it was a great. I'm glad we'll be doing it more. It was a great game to choose. Uh, um, yeah. I just forgot what I was going to say. Oh no, I know what it was. So I heard today from an old friend of ours because we're in a public format, and I don't have his permission, I'm not going to mention his name. However, he had a DBS last week here in Austin. And so we've been talking, and I'm like, wow, this is a real soup to nuts opportunity for me right before, a few months before it's going to be my turn. So, like, Helen, who was amazing, was 12 years ago, different doctor, different everything. This is apples and apples, kind of, sort of.
Right.
So,
So people who are wondering, just give us it's, we're nearing our time, but give us the where you're at and where you're headed with your DBS.
I have recognized that the degenerative component of the definition of this disease is a real thing. It's not that the medication ceases to be effective at all. It's that the disease itself, like, take this leapfrog, big jumps, and eventually you can't catch it with the medicine. And I'm not all the way there yet. However, I am 71, and I did just take those neuropsychiatric tests to assess whether or not I have the cognitive, stability and stuff to handle the challenges. Well, those tests are only good for 6 months. And so I'm passed for the next 6 months. I'm in. But I learned 2 days ago about a man who had the surgery on one side 3 years ago, and his other side started presenting as is always going to be the case, right? It's not my right side that has Parkinson's, it's all of me. And he was ready to go get the other side, have the surgery, but he had to take the tests again, and he didn't pass them. He didn't qualify. It was devastating.
And that's that.
Yeah. So I can't let that happen.
I
So
wonder if that's what happened.
I need to qualify for surgery on both sides, but it's about, I'm having other-sided, left-sided symptoms creeping in, and that's what happens. So we're going to have a conversation with my doctor on Monday.
Many people wouldn't even think about that, about qualifying. And I just mentioned that because, my dad was very much against doing it. And then he started to finally say, okay, maybe I'll look into it. And then his doctor said, you don't qualify. And I don't know, I'm going to have to look back to see if he actually did that test or if that was a general assessment, because age is also a factor. At some point, surgery is really thought to be a very risky proposition. But also, yes, progression neurologically. Now, he didn't get his dementia diagnosis until just this year, and he's still cognitively sharp. But this test is much more fine than that. It's
Oh
not
my
just
gosh, yes. They're examining lots of different types of functions of the brain, for sure.
right.
But that CBS interview, your dad blew me away. He was so articulate and like on it, and it was so much fun to see him being like, you know, right there.
Yeah.
Just, you know, yes, of course, he's had Parkinson's 20 years. None of us can escape that being evident. But
Yeah.
he was fun to listen to. It was exciting. It was interesting. And, it was really cool.
We'll put the
I'm
link
so excited.
below. And I think, we can kind of close on this. It's been a great episode. Thank you for everything. Just to say that, I think that speaks to the power of being engaged. My dad is excited to be doing this thing. This is bringing up something he wants in his life, something that he thought he couldn't do. And we
Yes.
found a way to yes and it.
Yes, you
And
did. Yeah. Yes, you
I
did.
mean, who knew about these chairs? I didn't know about them. Who knew about if they would be possible to get, right? This is a
And
journey of
hooray for
discovery.
hooray for you for thinking to ask them, but they did it. They said yes.
Hooray to our friends
And
at Park.
they're, the world is going to know on the media seeing that happen. So yes, he's engaged, he's excited, he gets to do something that he used to love to do and thought he would never do again. So what is that? Is that, adrenaline? What was the difference that
Right. That's a great question. That's a great neuro question and one to explore. What is it that, how do our brains become more functional when we are active, when we are joyful, when we are excited? Do we really have better cognitive processes?
do the
Great question.
synapses fire better? Something, something. What is it? Somebody will figure that out.
There we go. It's in our questions. If there's any neuros watching this, let us know in the comment section. In the meantime, that's been your daily dose. Thank you so much.